we find out who lived and who died on Critical Role.
I need to go take a shower, so I can't tell if I'm crying or not.
It was a long week for Critical Role fans after the events of Campaign 3, Episode 33, with multiple lives seemingly on the line, and Imogen, yes, I learned how to say her name correctly, doing her best Akira reenactment in the middle of Bassaris. Now, we'll break down the final fate of Bell's Hells here in a moment, but be warned that this video contains spoilers about all of Campaign 3, and in particular, Episodes 33 and 34. If you don't want to be spoiled about this episode because you haven't watched it, click away now.
You want more!
So last week's episode, Episode 33, ended with Orym and Fearne dead at the hands of Odahan Thule, a mercenary tied to the great Ruidus and Residuum conspiracy the party has been investigating since the start of the campaign. Odahan had a particular interest in Imogen, and stabbed Laudna in order to trigger Imogen's latent powers, which seem to be tied to Ruidus, the haunted moon which may or may not have a god trapped inside of it. Imogen's powers went off at the end of the last episode, engulfing a huge chunk of the city in a massive magical storm or maelstrom of some kind. Episode 34 opened up with Orym and Fearne still dead, and Laudna with 2 failed death saves. Now, due to the time sensitivities of Revivify, remember that players only have a minute to cast it after someone is dead, the players were still in initiative despite the fact that combat was over due to some extraplanar shenanigans at the start of this episode.
Welcome to Shenanigans, home of the world-famous Blarney Stone fajitas.
The episode opens with Marisha needing to make another death save for Laudna. Unfortunately, she rolled a natural 1, which now meant that the party had to deal with 3 dead bodies. Orym, Fearne, and Laudna were all dead. Now luckily, Fresh Cut Grass was still up and moving and had a single level 3 spell slot left. After a brief debate, they used it to resurrect Fearne, and Fresh Cut Grass barely passed the wisdom check needed to determine whether or not the spell worked. So now Fearne's back up and moving, and Fearne can also cast Revivify. Now, we had a lot of comments last week asking, how can Fearne cast Revivify? She's a druid. And does Fearne even have Revivify prepared? To answer all those questions, Fearne is a Circle of Wildfire druid, and they always have access to Revivify once they reach level 5. Now, with Fearne up and moving, the party had access to another Revivify, but they had to choose between Laudna and Orym. Ultimately, Fearne flipped a coin, and Orym was chosen as the next survivor. Now, the good news was that Fearne easily passed her wisdom check as well, so the party ended the encounter with only 1 new dead body on their hands. Now, Marisha ended up leaving the table, and that was seemingly the end of Laudna, at least for now. Now, there was some debate on Critical Role Twitter last night whether or not the party had enough diamonds to cast a 3rd Revivify spell, which would have allowed them to bring back everyone. Now, some corners of Critter Twitter seemed to think that they had 1 more diamond left, but the cast was convinced that they didn't have enough resources to bring back everyone. However, the party isn't giving up on Laudna. They took her body with them during their escape from the city, and they are already looking into options on how to resurrect her.
Never give up, and good luck will find you.
Unfortunately, the cast may have forgotten that Laudna is a Hollow One, and technically doesn't have a soul. Now, there's no mechanical reason why a Hollow One can't be resurrected, there's no restrictions or anything like that. However, the flavor text surrounding Hollow Ones seem to directly contradict how most resurrection spells, except for True Resurrection, works. But hey, that's a problem for next week. Now, on a rather grim note, Campaign 3 is now officially the deadliest campaign in Critical Role history, with 2 permanent, or at least permanent-ish, PC deaths. The campaign is officially bloodier than campaigns 1 and 2, and we're only 34 episodes in. Were you surprised by who lived and who died in this episode? Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the character sheet.